Nerdcast assemble!
Stay dandy, baby.
It only took 5 episodes, but Anos Voldigode finally finds someone who can actually give him something of a challenge. And if my calculations are correct, it might even be someone from his past. There's no getting around it. This episode of The Misfit of Demon King Academy was pretty freaking awesome. Not only did it feature some very exciting action and a lot of twists and surprises, but it also featured a couple of brand new characters, one of which I believe is going to be very important. But what I really love about the series is that I'm finally starting to see a pattern here, where at the beginning of a brand new episode, we're going to go into the past and see a major event of something that happened to Anos in the past. And it's going to have some sort of like big reflection on everything that's going on in the present storyline. In fact, this episode actually opens up with this scene where both Anos and one of his subordinates, who goes by the name of Shin, are battling against this massive water spirit, which goes by the name of Lin Yon. And basically, it's this water spirit which can transform into a massive multi-headed water hydra. Visually, it looks really awesome, and I do love the fact that Anos' subordinate, who goes by the name of Shin, manages to take down this massive monster in one huge attack. And I can't really tell you much about Shin outside of the fact that he is wholly devoted to Anos and everything that he is trying to do. What is interesting, however, is that Anos basically tells him that if you can take out this monster, I'll give you a wish, anything you could possibly want. And he simply wants to be resurrected. Of course, this will mean he'll lose all of his memories, and basically, he's going to reset back to zero. Now, I think this whole thing with Shin being resurrected is probably going to come up again in the future, but then of course we also get the return of the legendary hero known as Canon, which little by little they seem to be building him up as basically the only person who could possibly even oppose Anos. And Anos even claims that he has this special magic which essentially allows him to live on forever. He can constantly be resurrected, and for him to actually acknowledge that there's someone out there who's kind of like on equal footing with him is pretty big coming from this guy. And finally, that brings us to the present day storyline, where we get to see the results of what happened in that big exam, getting to see who's going to win that competition, what sort of magic items that they brought back. And at first it looks like Anos and his team are going to be screwed, as that scepter that they brought back was seemingly stolen by someone, and even though it seems like it's the school's fault, they're still going to dock some points from Anos and his team, only giving him 70 out of 100, which of course is incredibly unfair, but Anos, being the guy that he is, realizes that this has all been something that's been cooked up by the school, in particular their very own homeroom teacher, and actually discovers that it's one of the other students in the class who's been hiding it directly within his very own body. And he casually walks up and rips the scepter out and basically says, "No, we're getting the 100 points. Stop trying to screw us over." I am never going to get sick of Anos knocking down the school a peg or two. It's always really satisfying to see. We also get to learn that there's going to be a brand new transfer student who is going to be joining the class. But before we get to that, we also get to learn that apparently there is this group of girls who are completely obsessed with Anos. They're led by this girl who goes by the name of Misa, and Misa actually tried to defend Anos and her team when this scepter was actually stolen from them in an effort to try and make them look bad. And she decides to confront Anos and basically brings him to this massive tower where all these girls have these idols and statues and all these documents on Anos because they truly believe he's the genuine article. He really is the Demon King himself, and they're all completely obsessed with him, and watching them fangirl over Anos is honestly pretty freaking funny. Not to mention, some of the material that they have in their secret hideout is kind of questionable. There's straight up just a book which just features a lot of naked pictures of him, much to Sasha's surprise. Moving briskly along, we move on to another big exam with all the students where they're going to have to basically pull a magic demon sword from the ground. And of course, no student can actually do it except for Anos, because of course he's the freaking greatest in the world. However, this scene mostly just serves as an excuse to introduce the brand new transfer student who goes by the name of Ray Gransdori, and he's immediately interesting because one, he has a distinctive character design, and two, it's very obvious that he is a resurrected person from Anos' past. But I'm not quite sure who that could be quite yet. My first thought was that it could very well be Shin, the character from the very beginning of the episode, especially because they brought up the fact that he is going to be resurrected. But this character is a distinctive swordsman who is incredibly powerful, so he very well could also be the resurrected form of none other than the legendary hero Canon. Of course, we all know this means that we're going to have a confrontation between these two characters, and that's exactly what we get at the very end of the episode, where Anos' team decides to go up against Ray. And Ray has enlisted all of Misa's team because Anos actually recommended this. He wants like a good challenge from this entire situation, which basically amounts to Misha and Sasha teaming up against Misa and her team, and then Anos and Ray going into a really cool sword fight. Now, this entire action scene is just crazy to say the least, and is again more of a display to see how far these characters have come with their magical abilities and how over the top the series can actually get. I mean, before it was characters creating giant castles. Now they're creating giant robotic castles that can wield massive swords. It's that type of crazy in this episode, but I loved how everybody pretty much got a moment to shine. I love the fact that Misha and Sasha are teaming up and now using their distinctive abilities. They're basically fire and ice. That's kind of the whole deal with their characters. The two sisters are the yin and yang of one another, and we also get to learn that apparently when they sort of fused with their past fetus selves, it basically gave them a massive magic amplification, which allowed them to use a lot of crazy abilities, and basically they end up taking out this like giant mecha castle with a huge hammer by combining their fire and ice and basically creating a massive fire-ice tornado. And considering it's the first time they use it and they just absolutely wreck the entire forest, it's a really interesting display of their powers, and I have to say, it's great to see both of the sisters actually working together. But let's get to that Anos versus Ray fight, which is really awesome, because it's a sword fight. But because Anos is the guy who just loves to one-up everyone, he doesn't even use a sword, he basically just uses a freaking tree branch. And even with that, he's able to go toe-to-toe with Ray, who is a fantastic swordsman in his own right, and actually manages to excite Anos during this battle. It's the first time that he's actually felt a little exhilarated throughout the entire series, and the actual action that's on display here is definitely the best that I think has been shown in the series thus far. It's incredibly fast and destructive. It's not just a fast, fluid fight scene, but every single time they clash with one another, it basically sends a massive cloud of dirt and dust exploding throughout the forest. A forest which they are continuously destroying. Smokey the Bear would be pissed. Basically, just watching these two fight is exhilarating, to say the least. And, of course, Anos does end up winning, but Ray does manage to actually, like, slice through that branch just a little bit, giving Anos that little bit of oomph that he was looking for, that excitement that he's been craving for so long. So, now we have two characters who are extreme friendly rivals with one another, and like I said, I'm not quite sure if he's the resurrected form of Shin or Canon, but I'm leaning a little bit more towards Canon, especially when he says that he reminds him of someone and looks just like someone from his past, the fact that he can use the sword in a proficient way. That's not to say that Shin didn't do that at the beginning of the episode, but definitely it's something that's more about canon. Like, that's always been sort of like what his deal is. But the fact that he can constantly sort of die and keep coming back, maybe it is Shin. Maybe canon still exists out there somewhere. It's hard to say, but otherwise, this was a great introduction to a new character and continuing to do a great job in expanding on the amazing action and lore of this incredible fantasy world. So, what's the rundown on this episode of the Misfit of Demon King Academy? You know, I have a lot of favorite shows this season. I still think that my favorite is probably The God of High School, but I think the biggest surprise is this one right here. The Misfit of Demon King Academy has done nothing but exceed my expectations. I went into this expecting some anime junk food, and it still kind of is, but I mean, it's high-quality junk food. And this is an episode that, again, demonstrated how much fun the series really is, and how crazy it can get with its actual magical battles. It delivered on all fronts in this episode, not only giving an exciting, like, sword fight, but I loved the moment with that giant walking castle with the sword. I loved Misha and Sasha teaming up and using their distinctive abilities. The lily pad ice ring and the fire robe. It was just a perfect demonstration of their powers and showing how close they've actually become as friends and as sisters. I even liked the introduction of new fellow students like the character of Misa and her group, which are all adorable and over the freaking top. And I don't know why, but man, this entire school just completely has it out for Anos. They want to make him look bad at every single turn, and I have a feeling that it's going to be a constant case of their homeroom teacher, Amelia Rudwell, constantly cooking up situations to try and get him kicked out of this school, and it's never going to work. It will never, ever work. He is always going to continue to make her look like a complete fool. And the way that was displayed at the beginning of the episode by ripping the scepter out of that guy, man, it just put a big smile on my face. Anos Voldigode is the type of character that years ago, I probably wouldn't like a character like him because he's so obnoxiously powerful and overconfident, but he can back up everything that he does. I mean, he's not just like talking out of his butt here. Like, he really is showing what he is truly capable of, and he can back it up every single time. And that's what just makes him such an engrossing character, in his ability to not only bring out the best of other people, but to also bring them together. And this is still just the beginning of the series. Like, there's so much more promise for where this show could actually go. And man, I'm really pumped for all of that. Production value-wise, I thought this was one of the better looking episodes of the series. The action scenes were really great and very creative. I especially love the big ice castle that Misha was able to create using the Geograze cannon yet again. The giant walking castle with a massive freaking sword. Even just the side characters who don't get to like do anything. They're these two sword instructors during the big sword exam that only pop up for a few seconds, and they look really cool, but they're essentially just an excuse to show that Anos and Ray are incredibly powerful. It's little things like that that just make this entire show so watchable and memorable and fun. Really, I'm just having a blast watching the Misfit of Demon King Academy, and it's become one of my unexpected surprise anime of the season. So, I loved this episode right here. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. Of course, I'd love to get your thoughts on this episode. If any of you guys did watch this episode, tell me what you thought about it in the comment section below. The introduction of Ray Gransdori. Is he actually a resurrected character? Is he Shin? Is he canon? Is he someone else entirely? What kind of rival is he going to be to Anos Voldigode? And what do you hope to see from the rest of this season? And make sure to tell me what you thought about this episode in the comments section below. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. Please subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. Use your superpowered magical abilities to hit that like button. Give this video a thumbs up. It's really easy to do, and it helps out these videos a lot. I would also really like to thank everyone who's been checking out my Patreon page. You guys are some amazing patrons. Not only have you been giving some very generous donations, but you've been giving me a lot of feedback on all of the videos that I have been creating. Remember, if you guys make a small donation to my Patreon, I'll review an anime series of your choice. I would also love to add your name to this list of amazing people who are continuing to support this channel. So thank you guys so much for watching this review. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay down there, baby.